you have to surround yourself with people who are better than you are at a lot of things. And you need to bring everybody to the table, and each person does what they're good at. And that's success, is bringing smarter people and people who are better at things than you are into your circle, because that's how it happens.
Okay, well, Missy, welcome. We've got Missy Greis from Publik Coffee joining us on the pod today. Missy, I have long been a fan of the business Publik and the coffee Publik, and it's fun. It's been fun getting to know you and hearing your story of how you built what is probably one of the more successful coffee companies in the state of Utah. And your brand is practically everywhere in the Salt Lake Valley, and a lot of people who know Publik love Publik. And it's kind of every business owner's dream is to build what you've built in Publik. And so I'm excited to get the story today and get to know you a little bit better.
Well, thank you. Thanks for inviting me. It's fun. It's fun to tell the story. It's fun to talk about it. Publik started in 2012 when I purchased the building downtown West Temple, and we are a coffee company. So we have our coffee.
Yeah, for those maybe who have never heard of Publik, how do you describe
Publik Coffee? So
you have a lot of concept.
We do. So Publik Coffee Roasters is a small batch coffee roastery located right here in the Central 9th District of Salt Lake. And attached to our roastery is our cafe. And then also we have a 4,000 square foot event venue called Publik Space. So this is kind of our flagship. This is where everything began in 2014. The building was purchased in 2012, and it was about a year and a half remodel. Adaptive reuse is the word, or the words. My architect throws those around not lightly. But the original building where the venue is a 1940s barrel roof that is on the West Temple Street frontage. And then the building kind of goes east from there. And that's where we have our cafe and our coffee roastery. So yes, our origin is we are a coffee company and a coffee roastery that has just grown into 2 other restaurants and coffee house in the Valley in Salt Lake City. But we've got coffee beans that come in from all around the world. And our coffee roastery, Publik Coffee Roasters, would actually be removed from this location, taken across the valley, set up shop somewhere else, and do all of the work and the roasting that it does in a different location. We just happen to be attached, and there are glass windows all around, so you can look in and watch the activities of the roastery. That's it. We're open 7 days a week at all of our locations. And what else do you want to know?
I love it. How do you think about the business? So you have the roasting.
Yes.
You have the cafes.
Yes.
You have the event space. And do you also think of like Publik Kitchen as a restaurant that's not the cafes, or
yes,
do you lump it together with the cafe operation?
It's all very separate. So for me and my brain and the way I navigate it is we have 3 different businesses here on West Temple. We have the coffee roastery, we have the coffee house, and we have the event venue. Within the event venue, we also have meeting rooms. So I'm sitting in one of the meeting rooms, and we have one that you can rent by the hour. And then the other 2 are just first come, first serve. But then the avenues, so Publik Coffee in the avenues is a coffee house, identical menu to here, this cafe at West Temple. So we make everything in-house that we can. So we make all of our syrups, we make all of our panini, and we have all of our coffee that we roast, obviously. So we're our biggest customer. Publik Kitchen, Publik Avenues, and Publik Eds, and Publik West Temple. So we provide ourselves with about 70% of the roasting that we do goes directly to us. So I do kind of think of it as 3 businesses under one roof here. As a customer, I don't know what people experience or what they see.
Yeah,
I think they
but
see
behind the
coffee
scenes,
house.
you're a Berkshire Hathaway of coffee.
Yeah.
You're touching every component of how to do business.
There's a lot going on in this building. And then at Avenues, it's just a tiny version of this one that has the same feeling, same adaptive reuse of an old building that was an automotive shop, not a gas station, but an automotive shop. And it was also a preschool. And then Public Kitchen on 9th and 9th, I think of as a restaurant because
Cool.
it's breakfast all day with some lunch items and things that could translate into lunch for sure. We have a burger and quinoa salad, and the food over there is really, really, really good. And it's a different menu from the other two. And then Public Eds up at the university has a beer license that was grandfathered in, even though we're right there across from the University of Utah. And we're close to the Catholic Church also. But the license was grandfathered
Which would
in.
ordinarily disqualify the license.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we have a beer only restaurant license. So we do burgers up there and we do breakfast, but we also have beer in cans.
There's a few things I want to get into with you today, Missy, because first and foremost, you're succeeding in a space that I think a lot of business owners see as like a trap. Like, don't go open that restaurant or don't go open that coffee shop. It's a sure way to lose a lot of money. It's a hard business. The failure rates are really high, and you found a way to thrive and grow in that ecosystem. I think you've built this brand and place in the community that a lot of business owners, I think, sometimes struggle to figure out how to build a brand quite like that really resonates in the way that it does with its customers. And then also you've evolved in your own business owner trajectory in the relationship you have with your business. You're not behind the cafe. You haven't been behind the counter in years.
Ever.
We were even talking like you don't even know how last month was financially because you're kind of you've stepped back and a lot of your team is running the goings on of the company. You've done some real estate things along the way. So I think there's a lot of fun things to get into, and maybe the best place to start is how did Publik even come to be? I think what I remember you telling me is it wasn't like you opened one cafe, saw success, opened another. You were kind of forced to open with a bang across a couple of locations.
Yeah. So my background, I moved to Salt Lake 28 years ago. And my background and what I had been doing here was I had one property in California. I did a 1031 exchange into a property here. I then flipped that into a different property. And that was kind of my background, was just buy a building. I wasn't a developer. I was a landlord. Buy a building, put tenants in it, keep it or don't keep it. But I ended up getting rid of everything and doing this West Temple venture. And I did it in 2012. And so very honestly, Chase, I think in 2012, 2013, 2014, when we finally were able to open, just when they talk about timing of market entry, there wasn't a lot of coffee going on in Salt Lake. I mean, there truly was not a lot of coffee. And what there also wasn't was a space like ours with the event venue, with the roastery on site, with the meeting rooms, with the two-story. We have a two-story that I'm looking out here because I'm sitting on the second floor. So the mezzanine, just the space and the design coupled with the coffee. And in that moment, so 11 years ago, I mean, this
coffee was kind of having a moment then, right?
This was having a moment. Yes.
It was having a moment. Coffee companies were opening this idea of like going and spending more on a higher quality cup of coffee or cappuccino, and your timing of when you chose to open was seemingly perfect.
It was pretty great. I mean, I don't really know the numbers. I should probably look back, but I feel like when we were opening, there were probably 6 specialty coffee places in Salt Lake City. Not all of them were roasting. Now there are 30. I think.
Easily.
I haven't. I should probably.
I remember sharing with you, this was different market, but at the time, I think I was down in Utah Valley, and there was 1, maybe 2 Starbucks in the entire valley. Population of hundreds of thousands of people, and today there's easily 15 Starbucks alone. And so the growth over the past 15 years has been profound, not just for specialty coffee shops, but for the entire
drive-through, right? A lot of drive-through. But I think what's kind of cool is like the Starbucks story from 9th and 9th was just a huge coup for the coffee garden because they put that Starbucks out of business. And that's because Salt Lake City left local. And there's a picture in the coffee garden of them taking the Starbucks sign down on the building that's across the street. with the crane.
Do you remember the details? So, Starbucks had always been in this 9th and 9th location.
Mhm.
And did Coffee Garden open up, or who came first?
Coffee Garden came first, and they
and
had
Starbucks opened up and tried to
yes,
go head to head
yes,
on the corner across the
yeah.
street,
And
and
there
ultimately had
was
no.
talk that what Starbucks does is they go into communities and neighborhoods and cities, and they look for a successful local place, and they open across the street or kitty corner or around the corner, and that's kind of a
Right,
model for them. So they tried,
right.
but Salt Lake City loves local. Yeah.
So what were you thinking at the time? 2012, you buy the building. 2014, you finally open up. Like, did you have this insight of Salt Lake needs another specialty coffee company, or what were you thinking? Where was your headspace?
I was thinking that Salt Lake needed a cool space to have nonprofit meetings, nonprofit fundraisers. It needed a venue that was not a hotel. It needed a small size venue that was a little more intimate. It needed a place where people could come, and like coffee was a perfect pairing to create
Hmm.
space and to create community. And I had been doing a ton of community work. And so I had, been tortured by having to go to like a small little, like fully fabric room at the Grand America too many times, and sit with 50 people or 20 people or whatever. And so this building for me and this whole venture really came out of a need of building community. And coffee, I mean, we know coffee brings community, and community likes coffee, right? Even in Utah.
Hmm.
So that's what I was thinking.
So you had a 1031 burning in your pocket that you had to go
Yep.
deploy and buy a good
Yes.
building that you could get excited about in Salt Lake. You knew you wanted to do something community minded, probably coffee, but not necessarily coffee.
Yep.
And I remember when you first opened being shocked at how big the location was for a coffee shop. And frankly, I remember thinking like, I hope whoever's behind that makes it, because
Totally.
it's a large building. How many square feet? What
It's
are some of the specs
Yeah.
that,
So overall, it's 12,000 square feet. So 4,000 of
wild.
that is the event venue. The roastery is a little over 1,000, and then the rest of it is just the mezzanine and the lower level cafe. So
So how did Publik, the coffee company, come to be then? You purchased the real estate, you're trying to decide what to
yep,
do with it. How did you arrive at the concept?
I had a partner that was the coffee person. They hadn't done coffee before, but really quickly after we opened, we just had zero alignment with respect to how to run a business, how to open a business, how to market a business, how to be in business, how to treat your employees. And so then I was just the sole owner, and I brought in an incredible general manager who had worked for Starbucks for 9 years, who had
Oh, wow.
about 20 years of restaurant experience. And when his name is Joe, and when he started working for me, I said, so there's something you need to know. And that is there's an Avenues property that's under construction. And there's a really good chance that I'm going to want to open a restaurant on 9th and 9th in a property that I own over there that's already a restaurant, and I have a tenant in. And he just said, sounds good. Like, didn't even hesitate. It's like, he was like, I'm up for it. I said, okay, so we're going to go from 11 employees to like 30 in 90 days. He's like, yeah, no big deal. Let's do it. So
That's incredible. So you went from not even like 11 people to 30 employees. You went from within a period of time, 0 businesses to
yes,
3 locations,
yes,
right? I mean, you were
yes,
under construction for a period of time, and I
yes,
understand that, but going from effectively nothing to 3 just
yes,
in the drop of a hat is a
yes.
pretty tall order.
And here's the deal. This is not easy. I mean, you're being very kind, and you're like, we're thriving and we're successful, and but it's not easy. This is hard. And it's been really hard for the last 5 years since COVID. But
Yeah.
I'm always a believer, and anything I've done, whether it's volunteer work or anything, is you have to surround yourself with people who are better than you are at a lot of things. And you need to bring everybody to the table, and each person does what they're good at. And that's success, is bringing smarter people and people who are better at things than you are into your circle, because that's how it happens. I've never made a latte for a customer ever. I've made one for
So,
people, but I've never made a latte for a customer.
Which it sounds like this is kind of your inner genius, is being able to bring the right people to the table, put them in the right seat, and kind of bring the pieces together to allow something to flourish, as opposed
Yeah.
to you just stubbornly, as on your own, push through barrier after barrier. It's how can we bring the right people
Yeah.
together to create the right
Well,
concept?
and there's a lot going on now. I mean, 4 locations, 67 employees, lots of moving parts. I think we have 6 different business licenses. I mean, there's no way you do this with just you and a couple of people. This is a team. My leadership team is 9. And then below them are assistant managers, and below them are, baristas and servers and delivery people. And I mean, it is a team effort. There is no way, even just one, you can't do it by yourself.
Okay, it's time to take a quick break for 2 messages. First, if you only know us through this podcast, it might help to know about Durable itself. We are Utah's private community for business owners, part of Dakota Group. Membership is free, events, online communities, and the Durable Dispatch newsletter. But the deepest level of engagement comes through our curated, invite-only peer groups. Most owners face the hardest calls alone, and peer groups change that. Small, hand-picked circles of CEOs and operators who have been in the trenches for real conversations, straight answers, and accountability that sticks. Here's what it looks like. Groups of 8 to 10 owners who meet monthly. You bring your toughest challenges, give and receive advice, and leave with clarity and next steps you'll actually act on. If you want to learn more, request an invite at builddurable.co. Our second message is about Durable's sister company, Durable Finance. Durable Finance was built by operators for operators because we know what it's like to sit in your chair. Think of us as your partner in all things numbers, monthly bookkeeping, cash flow management, capital advisory, and fractional CFO support. Clear reporting, GAAP compliance, and no jargon. Just the clarity that every business owner deserves without paying CFO-level prices. And here's what you get. Books closed on time every month, a monthly financial board meeting, a forward-looking cash forecast, KPI dashboards that actually make sense, and a finance team you enjoy working with. Plans start at $400 a month. Move to Durable Finance. Know your numbers. Grow your business. Those are our 2 messages for today. Thanks for listening. And now back to the program. Do you have any memories of those first few months opening up West Temple, and any of the kind of early on just bumps that you hit in the road, or issues or exciting moments? I mean, those early days are just so fun to look back on.
A couple of things, like during construction and building it out, it was a heavy lift. The city, specifically public utilities, didn't know where to classify us. We weren't a restaurant. We weren't a banquet hall. We weren't offices. We were Department of Agriculture for the Roastery, but we're just a regular Salt Lake City license for the cafe and for the venue. And so getting open, I think about, there was a trench wide open downstairs in the cafe. It was open for 6 or 8 months because we were fighting whether or not we needed a grease trap. And my architect and my contractor said, grease interceptor is going to be fine. This is not a restaurant. But nobody could wrap their head around what we were building. And it took a minute. And like you, I mean, people were walking in here going, this is a coffee shop? And it's
Are
2
you sure?
stories, and what's going on over there? And you have and I had friends that I know that were talking behind my back, like, she is insane. Like, she bought this massive building on a one-way street over there because over here back in
10 years ago was a very different neighborhood. That neighborhood's gentrified a lot. It's changed. It's progressed.
Yep.
But at the time, it was probably not the most obvious place to open.
No, and I don't know how to tell people that I just knew, but it was similar to buying the property on 9th and 9th in 1997 when I moved to Salt Lake, and that 9th and 9th corner was pretty funky. There was no Warby Parker. Starbucks wasn't there yet, and my grandfather came to visit, and I was like, so I'm gonna buy this building, and he was like, why this? Why here? He's like, this is the strangest neighborhood. Like, go downtown. If you're gonna buy a building for a business, go downtown where there, and I was like, nope, I just feel it. I know it's gonna be okay. But that's 28 years ago, 26 years ago. But this one was the same way. I had a feeling about the real estate, and I knew that I could get the people here. And when you're asking me about fond memories, I was just sharing a story with someone. So Vasilios Priskos from Internet Properties, he's no longer with us, but
He now, I believe, has a statue on Main
he
Street
sure
in his name,
does.
correct?
He
Yeah.
does. I think it's a bronze statue. I don't know where I'm made.
For those who don't know, who was he? And then I'd love to hear the story you were about to tell.
Well, so he was the founder of Internet Properties, and his boys are now his young men, sons are running the business, but is commercial real estate firm. And I don't know when Vasilios got his start, probably in the 70s, 80s. And he became a friend through philanthropy and volunteerism. And I had told him I was doing this. And, cheerleader. He's like, that's fantastic. Salt Lake City needs it. And I'm like, thank you. Thank you for validating what I'm feeling, because it feels big and it doesn't feel risky. It just feels uncertain. Like, what will it be? And when we opened day one, he came walking in here and he brought 4 or 5 of his buddies. So I had like the old guard of Salt Lake. And I have a picture of them sitting there on the first day. And I think we happened to open like on National Donut Day or something. And we didn't have donuts. And so he was like, do I need to go get donuts? And I was like, wait a minute, no, eat our food. Just eat our food. But I was just talking about that, I think, day or two ago. And it's time flies, right?
Yeah.
But there's so many good memories from this space, Chase. I mean, we've hosted the coolest events. We've hosted weddings and we've hosted fundraisers for local nonprofits. We've also hosted celebrations of life, lots and lots of memorials. And then like kids' art shows and things for Design Week. And the space is now full of people that are either new residents or they've been here forever. We still have a lot of regulars, but it definitely changes. I don't know everyone in the room anymore. That for the first couple of years, that was absolutely true, because I think I was like marketing, trying to get people
Right.
to come way over here, for a cup of coffee on a one-way street where, but it's just, I don't know. I love it so much. I love it so much. And I love the people that work for me. I love our customers.
It's incredible to hear those stories and then, walk into Publik on a random Tuesday and there's 40, 50 people in the building. It's buzzing with energy. But I'm curious, Missy, like it probably wasn't always buzzing with energy at each of your locations. And same thing, by the way, is anytime I walk into your Avenues location for a quick cappuccino, that you will have regularly a line out the door on a random weekday at 2 p.m. And you've picked such a great location. But I'm sure it wasn't always thriving in that way. What were some of the harder moments? I can only imagine opening 3 locations inside a single year or two that would test anyone. What were some of those hard moments?
I think the hardest moments were really just, we had procedures for this location, but then they need to be tweaked and changed a little bit at other locations. And opening a restaurant is a very different animal than a coffee house. And I think the hardest was going through with Joe, undoing a lot of the things that we thought were correct and redoing them so that they would work across the company, bringing apps into play, getting all of the employees out of a group text, putting them on some communication platforms so that we weren't texting. So in the early days, there was a lot of technology that needed to be implemented, and it's even changed so much in the last 5 or 6 years. But the hardest part is communication across one team, communication across multiple teams, communication to make sure that there's consistency. And for us, one of the things we did is we hired one of our baristas, and she is still with us. It's been 9 years, and she is our barista trainer. So she goes location to location. Her whole job is to provide consistency. So when you get your cappuccino at Avenues, it should be the exact same at West Temple. It should be the exact same at Public Kitchen. But then she also goes a step further and goes to all of our wholesale accounts. So any wholesale account that's serving coffee, she will go in and train their team and make sure there's consistency. I was just actually with her this morning at the new Hearth and Hill in Sugar. And they're having their soft open. And she was there with their team, like looking at their grinder, looking at their espresso machine. Something wasn't working for them. So she went over and she was like, "Oh, look, you have your grinder on the wrong setting and you've opened the top and you need to keep this closed." And so she was doing like a little equipment maintenance session for them. But I think, the hard things are, Chase, like employees and communication and making sure that across all of these locations that we are the same brand. And even though each location has a different personality, they absolutely do. The brand is the same. The coffee is the same. The coffee is excellent. The customer service is excellent. When you're there and you choose to go to the avenues, you're going to feel a certain way about where you are and the space you're sitting in. Very different from West Temple and very different from being in our restaurant on 9th and 9th. We're the restaurant up at the U, which is kind of a college crowd. So
something again that I think might be one of your like just unconscious inner genius capabilities is how you can recruit great people and motivate them to stay with you for 9 years in a role like that, where you're in an industry where there's typically a lot of churn. And you've had, you mentioned Joe, I believe you said general manager, and he's been with you for a very long time. I'm sure you and I both have friends who run businesses who sometimes can't get out of their own way. They struggle to delegate. They struggle to find people that can really rise to help build the company alongside them. What is it that you've done that you think has allowed for that? Because clearly you wouldn't have been able to grow to the size and scale that Publik is today without doing that. What have you found that works, and what's been your journey with them?
The biggest thing is getting out of the way. I mean, let everybody do what they're good at. You hired them for a job, let them do their job. And then absolutely Joe, he is critical. And I mean, there's nothing happens without Joe. He's the one that's testing the apps to see if they'll work for us. He's the one that's training on the apps. He's the one that's actually helping with the hiring at the leadership level. And then and knowing what's needed, right? What would West Temple need? What kind of person would West Temple need? The manager at West Temple is very different from the manager at Avenues. They're two different beasts, but it's the same brand. So it's getting the right people in the right positions and then allowing them to create the culture and then allowing them to hire. I mean, we let our managers hire at this point. I will walk in and I've seen like an onboarding of a person, but I've never seen this person. I don't know where they worked formerly. I have to get to know them. I introduce myself, but they might have already worked for us for a week or two. So it's just a very deep layered team of people who do a really good job, and they do stick around. I think we try to make, the work environment pleasant. We all spend a lot of time at work. It might as well be as pleasant as it can be. Let them choose their own music. Sometimes you have to correct. You walk in and you're like, maybe not this.
This is in public.
Yeah.
Have you always been good at like knowing how to get out of the way and empower those around you, or is this a learned skill? Have you how did you get to that ability to be able to get out of the way in the way
I've worked on a lot of teams. My first job out of college was in medicine. I worked in an orthopedic clinic, and talk about a team. I mean, from the front desk to the nurses to the doctors to the patients. I mean, it was a family, and it was very much a team. And like watching the two gentlemen that were the titles on the orthopedic clinic, and they were the leaders. And I learned so much from my first boss. He was collaborative, but he also knew when to direct, and he knew when to get out of the way. He knew when to hand you something that he knew you were capable of doing. Whatever that, I mean, for me, I was in a very strange position, but I absolutely worked for two gentlemen. And then I was a little bit of my own island within this other team of 50 people. And it was medicine. So it was life and death. It was
high stakes.
Yeah. I mean, you really did.
You can't remake a cup of coffee in the way you can at Publik if you get something wrong.
Exactly. So I think the cadence of the work there and the significance of how important and it was. You had patience, not cups of coffee. But I learned so much there. And then I don't have any way of explaining how critical Joe is to my process, because I don't have 20 years of restaurant experience. I didn't have 9 years at Starbucks. I've never made a latte. He can make a latte. If he has to, he can jump on that machine and make a latte, right? But I think I don't want to take the credit for building these teams, because I think you pick a certain couple of people and then you support them in building the teams. And people self-select. We have people that don't stay 9 years, but we have a lot of people at this point that have been with us 5, 6, 7, 8 years.
If you had a business owner friend come to you, Missy, and say, I want to find a Joe. How do I get a Joe? How do I recruit someone, incentivize someone, keep someone? And maybe not a Joe in particular, but what advice would you give a business owner who's kind of struggling to get out of their own way, struggling to get past, like, they're running the team, they're running the business? Do you have any things that you've done over the years that have worked particularly well, or advice that you'd give in general?
I've had a couple of friends. I have one friend I'm thinking of right now that was looking for her Joe for so long, and she finally found her Joe, but Joe is named Jen. And it's get out of the way, and also absolutely, like, check your ego at the door and make sure that your Joe is much smarter than you are and understands things much more deeply than you do, but that is also willing to teach you, right? Like, I can look at spreadsheets with Joe. I don't really want to, but he forces me. And we look at the things in a different way. And he's now gotten to know me, so he knows what's important to me, from light bulbs to dirty bathrooms to whatever it is. And he guides the team. But I think, finding a Joe, I don't know what the secret that is. I don't know how you find a Joe. I just happened to, I'm so lucky.
You could be making a lot more money, Missy, if you didn't have a Joe and were doing everything yourself. And that's the route that a lot of business owners go, right? Yeah. So I wonder if there was also this moment where you had to say, well, I'm going to make less in the short term in order to allow for this role to exist. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but how did you think about the financial and compensation side?
I'm structured very differently, and probably nobody in the coffee world is structured like I am. The fact that I own 3 of my 4 buildings, I am the landlord. So I'm on both sides of the lease. I'm on the tenant side as the owner of Publik, and I'm on the landlord side as the owner of the building. So rent is more of my income.
Right.
Yeah, I don't draw a salary from Publik. So that allows my people to be paid better.
Yeah,
it allows
it's a big unlock.
I mean, there's a compensation there that you just release, and it's a sacrifice. It's definitely
You're playing the long game. You're playing the long game.
Yeah, and I really I like that other people are in charge. I love that. I don't need to go in and be in charge, and I would much prefer to pay people and have people be in charge. It's great. It's good for them.
I love that. I want to change gears a little and talk about why the world sees the coffee business as one of the hardest businesses to be in. It's like notorious for high failure rates, and just margins are razor thin. It's competitive. What's maybe to someone who's not familiar with the business of coffee, why is it so hard? What tends to be the hang up?
Well, they're two different coffee businesses, right? You could be a roaster, or you could be a cafe. So you could be a cafe that serves someone else's coffee, or you could be a roaster that delivers coffee that doesn't have a cafe. I guess there are 3. Or you could be like Publik, where we roast and serve our own. What makes it hard are, just costs, right? Sourcing and shipping and delivering coffee to your roastery. The roastery team, not that, they're expensive, but that's a lot of labor. The product itself, the way that coffee has increased in price, when right now there's coffee that's $4 a pound, green, which used to be 2 something. And we're all about supporting the farmers. We want the farmers to raise their prices, but then it's the shipping, it's the delivering, it's the truck with the lift gate, it's our dumpsters, the cost of doing business has gone up so much in 5 years. Our utilities are ridiculously overpriced, I think. I'm like, how can you charge me $9,000 in 2019 for this building. And in 2024, it was $12,000. Like what has changed? You haven't delivered better power. In some ways, you've delivered worse. We have more outages, right? But I
And then
feel like
cost of labor, cost of materials. It just seems like
everything
everything
has
since
gone up.
COVID.
I don't
Yeah.
know that coffee is specifically riskier than any restaurant or bar or anybody in food or beverage. I think, and especially since COVID, I feel really comfortable that we're established. I would not have wanted to start a business in 2019 or 2021, 2022, because everything's always very elastic. Things are changing and shifting, and you're trying to kind of morph within it. But I think it's just the cost of, I mean, I could go on and on about cost, what things cost, but we're trying to also keep, lattes from being $9. And it's kind of a sickening thought to think that I have a drink on my bar that's $7.95. I mean,
It's a different world.
it's a different world. And we're not the
Maybe,
highest or the lowest in the city,
right.
right? We're just kind of, I don't know. It's hard, Chase. It's hard, but I have a team that makes it easier.
Yeah.
And
Will you lift the hood a little bit on like how a latte can become $9 and like, yeah, what, like, because you're right, expenses are creeping up across the board from the
yeah,
raw product
yeah,
itself to everything in between. But maybe
yeah,
just as much as you're willing to share, like
yeah,
lift the hood a little bit on some of the costs and what it takes to actually get a cup of coffee made today in 2024 compared to
yeah.
back in 2014 when you started.
Right. Okay. So for us, we have a director of coffee, Green. She's a green buyer. She's the director of coffee. She's our head roaster. She's also a Q grader. She's invested so much in herself and her career to go up and
What's
do
a
all
Q
things.
grader?
Q grader is like a sommelier for coffee. When Publik started, I think there were 1,500 in the world. I think now there are like 6,000. But she's one of 3 in Utah. She is, as I believe, she's the only one working in coffee. One did it as a hobby, and the other gentleman, I think, has retired. But, just to have us bringing in our coffee, roasting in our coffee, we're roasting our own coffee. Okay, the cost of cups have gone up. Milk has gone up. We make our own syrups. Sugar has gone up. Chocolate has gone up. Vanilla has gone up. So everything that we've done or everything we produce costs more now, but just the cups and the lids. And then we want to pay people well. So we do our best to pay people well. So labor has gone up. I mean, when we started, I think our base pay was $8 an hour. And that was before tips. But now we don't have anyone that starts at this company below 10, and we guarantee 15, but we have more people making in the 20 and 25, upwards of 30 an hour with tips.
With tips. Wow.
And tips is like a whole conversation, right? Like,
Yes. Have you seen some of the coffee shops around town have stopped doing tips?
yeah. But how I think their drinks are, right?
But
They
they increased the price of the latte
15% or
by
something,
$2.
right?
Yeah,
So like,
exactly.
there's your $9 latte or 10
Right.
because you're covering wages. Right. So, and it's all over the place. I mean, you have the people that drop a 20 in the tip jar every single time they come to get one $4.50 latte. And you have the people that don't tip at all, everything in between. But as far as, I mean, just, it's a simple numbers game. Everything costs more, right down to employing my people and getting the coffee here.
I think that's why I've heard the food and coffee business is so hard is you're just monitoring such low margins, and if any hiccup impacts your margins, that goes straight into your bottom line. And
Yeah.
it's so easy to run a nonprofit coffee shop or restaurant because it's just so easy to not pay attention to the
Yeah.
price of milk going up a little
Yeah.
bit and having to
Yeah.
quickly go and accommodate and adjust for
Yeah.
that, or go renegotiate your rates with your suppliers to.
Yeah.
And so you just have to be monitoring that like a hawk at all
Well,
times.
and that's Joe. And I mean, that guy has more secrets. I don't really know like how he's running his spreadsheet, he has one spreadsheet for every single thing, and then he has what he calls his magic spreadsheet. It's like the global company spreadsheet, and that's the one that we sit down with every Thursday morning. And he shows me, and it's highlighted yellow, green, and red. And so red is like danger zone, and green is like thriving, and yellow is kind of like, oh shit, which way is it going to go? And, it's like, but it's constant. It's a constant, and especially right now, like in the last, what are we, 60 days into the new administration, and not really knowing if the tariff is real or staying or going.
It's a very weird time right now.
Yeah. And what are big corporations doing, and how much stuff is coming from China? A lot of it is coming. Like when I look at our condiment bar, everything is from China, right? So we're just kind of waiting. We're not raising our prices. That's something that we decided. We are going to keep our prices where they are because we feel really strongly that the world is just way too uncertain. I do not want to turn anyone away. I don't want anyone walking into one of my places and saying, well, last week this was, $11. This, and today it's 14 and I'm not coming back. So we would rather just stay steady, break even, which is, it's really possible. In certain departments, we do break even. Sometimes we make money, sometimes we lose, but for the most part, we have a lot of departments that break even, and that's okay. We offset it with other things, right? So
yeah,
it's crazy.
And I think that's part of the power of the diversified almost portfolio, not to use too strong a word for each of your businesses. You have the event business, you have the roasting, you have the wholesale, you have the cafe, you have the restaurant. Which part of your business do you feel like you're most excited about? Where is the most growth? Is there a part of one of those businesses that's just the biggest pain that I'd be curious, as much as you're willing to share, of like how that mixture of your diversification strategy plays out?
It's tricky. So Publik ends up at the university. 95, 99% of our customers are students, faculty, staff, facilities people. So when they close for breaks, we have to close. But we can't close for more than 9 consecutive days because we have a liquor license. So the state of Utah requires that you put in for a variance and an extended closure. And so they give it to you, but it's like just an extra hurdle to navigate that, because you can't have $80 days, which is what you can have if you don't have any customers because they're all on spring break, right? Yeah. But I'm loving the events are back. 2020, 2021, and even 2022 was really ridiculously hard for this location because we offset a lot of our overhead with our event revenue, but we didn't really have any events. People weren't having events. So we were running on a skeleton crew. We were being really, really conscientious about how much green coffee we were bringing in. How much are we? Yeah, I mean, it was brutal. 2024, it's back. Feels like they're back. Yeah, it's very helpful. I love the roastery. I love what they're doing in there. I'm still trying to learn something. I mean, every week I'm kind of like, okay, tell me what this is. Tell me what, okay, this coffee, why, honey processed and this kind of decaf, and where did it come from and how much did we get? So there's a lot to learn down there, and it's really interesting. But, I love Public Kitchen. I love it so much. The food is so good. The staff over there is amazing. But that 9th and 9th business district has changed dramatically in the last 5 years. The customers that are walking the streets, there are fewer of them. And the businesses that have been implemented over there. So landlords, I guess, nobody really talked to each other. So everybody decided to do either ice cream or a smoothie
ice cream, gelato. Yeah.
I mean, you can get anything blended over there on every corner.
It's so interesting to hear that, because from a casual observer from afar who doesn't have any business at the 9th and 9th area, it seems like it's come a long way in a positive way over the past 5 years. So it's interesting to hear. And I think maybe what I'm queuing off of is all of the real estate development and all of the renovations that have taken place, your own renovation included, but visually the space
Yeah.
looks more walkable
Yeah.
and more accessible and shoppable.
Oh,
But
yeah.
it's interesting that that
I
hasn't
just
translated
I
to it
just
being easier
don't
to do business.
it was a little bit more fun before COVID when things were a little funkier. And I'm even like putting that on myself because we were in the little house and
Yeah, it was quirky.
yet it was sinking. It didn't have a choice. I mean, we couldn't lift it. I mean, we could have, but like
Like your building was literally sinking.
it was sinking, and the basement was flooding because the water was running
Oh my God.
uphill to reach the city connection. So, in the perfect storm of a dish machine, a toilet, like everything running at once, the basement would flood, and it was happening 5 or 6 times a year, and that's no fun, you know. So, but ninth and ninth, if I were in charge of the world, right? I I wish there had been a lot more conversation and curation of what people were going to put in there because I think everybody kind of banked on the fact, well, a boba or an ice cream or whatever is going to cater to a lot of the students because we have 2 schools, East High and Roland Hall,
Mhm.
and there's a lot of student traffic, but they don't cross the street, you know.
Interesting.
And people are lazy, right? So it's like they
Yeah.
go exactly where they have been and they go to get exactly what they know. And that could be a smoothie, that could be a gelato, that could be a boba, or it could be the Smith's grocery store because I see kids with a can of Pringles and a bottle of Gatorade all day long. They're not even soliciting the businesses, right?
Right.
So it's for over there. It's a little bit bittersweet for me. I love it so much, but I'm also kind of annoyed. Like, could we be a little more creative? Like, the Stockist is a wonderful shop. Hip and Humble is a wonderful shop. There's so many
Pago around the corner.
Pago, Tap House, local, right? Local things. I think when we saw Warby Parker move in, everybody kind of went, "Oh, we're there." Okay. We now have a national like we have a national chain. There's a
Right.
Starbucks was gone. We're not counting Starbucks, but it's interesting. What's nice is we all know each other. We're in touch. We we cry, we scream, we celebrate, all the things.
Yeah.
But I do love that neighborhood. So when you ask me what I love, I love the coffee part. I love our restaurant over there. I love our neighbors over there. But it's hard. It's hard.
One thing that Adam and I, my business partner, talk about a lot is how we've, as we've gone through the years of owning businesses, and one of the skills you kind of develop, whether you like it or not, is your resiliency and your ability to just kind of be able to chew glass and kind of navigate hard times. And I'm curious what your journey has been like over the past decade as a business owner, where you've changed the most. And just what lessons maybe you would give yourself if you could kind of whisper in your ear 10 years ago. How have you developed as a leader and as a business owner?
I think leading up to 2020 was just it's obviously it was a different world. Everything was different. The way we did things, the way we approached things. I think any employer had a different lens on, how they treated their employees. What were the things that were important to employees? Are you paying attention to what your employees need? Because happy employees are great for customers, right? In the beginning, I think I was way too close to all of it. And as much as even like getting close and becoming friends with employees. And it's not that you can't be friendly and close and like care about them. But in the beginning, we used to have parties, like company parties. And we did one this year for the first time really since COVID. And it was great. And it was good to like reset and set the tone that like we can have a social thing that you're not required to come. Do we like each other enough to hang out? And the answer was yes. It was phenomenal. But I think really just when you say chewing glass, I'm like, that's 2020 and 2021.
I can't imagine being in your seat during 2020.
I mean, if you recall, we had the shutdown at midnight, and we woke up to the earthquake.
I remember that very well.
So I had broken windows at this location. We had an earthquake. I mean, I think we still didn't even know how long.
The world already felt like it was about to end. And then when that 5.7 magnitude earthquake hit, it just felt sure that the world was ending in Salt Lake City, Utah.
Something's wrong, right? And then flash forward, so that was March. And then remember in September, we had the hurricane winds and all the trees fell down. We lost 3,000 massive trees. Like some of them had like a 7-foot diameter, and the sidewalks were upended because trees were. So I think 2020 and 2021 were kind of just not just uncertain, but really almost like a game. Like, okay, so in 2 weeks, we'll reevaluate whether we're going to open, or are we just going to do contactless, or are we going to, I mean, we had coffee coming out of the roastery that we had contactless delivery or contactless pickup. So people could order online and they could get their bags, literally their retail bags. But there was like a little table out there, and I had an employee in a mask, and they would just kind of like check people's coffee out to them. And we did that for a while. And then it was kind of like, well, now they're talking about vaccines. Okay, so what's our vaccine policy? And 67 employees, everybody has a different opinion, right? And we just decided we're going to follow the CDC. And that's what we're doing. And obviously, we're going to follow Salt Lake County, Salt Lake City. But everything, I mean, we had employees that never wanted to come back to work. We had employees that were itching to get back to work. We're offering to come in and clean refrigerators, and we weren't even open. They just were like, I can't stay home for one more day. And we're like, it's only been 3 weeks. And little did we know this thing was going to go on and on, right? So the hardest part is the people, taking care of people, making sure that they're comfortable coming to work, and really just changing your process all the time. And I feel like we're back in that now. Like the last 2 months, it feels, we're back in COVID, where we don't know. We wake up and we believe it was one thing when we went to bed, and we come to work and it's something else. And the cost of this is different. Or, the dumpster people showed up. They didn't do it the same way they always do it. Like, just, I don't know. Things are changing all the time.
It takes a lot of resiliency, solving problems all the time, chewing glass. What pushes you through, Missy? What's on the other side? Why do it? It all, like, almost for the listener, it's like, okay, don't own a business. That's not the message I think you're giving. What's on the other side? What fulfills you? What pushes you forward?
I just really believe in what we've built as far as community space. I just know what Publik does within Salt Lake City and the spaces we provide. And it even goes further to, I'm able to provide employment for wonderful people, and all of our spaces are safe. We provide a safe space. You can come to work, you can be yourself, you can be authentically whoever and whatever you want to be, and work for me. And the customers know that it's also a safe space. And we're very eclectic. I mean, like I said, each location has a different kind of tone and personality, but I just like what we provide for the community. And when I've gotten low and I've gotten kind of, okay, is this worth it? Like, what are we doing? We'll get a text or a message from someone, or we'll get a review, or we got an award from Food and Wine magazine for being the best coffee roaster in Utah.
I saw that. That's
3
so
years
cool.
ago. I mean, that's not a reader's poll. They ordered our coffee anonymously, drank it, and awarded us that. And like, so things like that happen. Like, we're doing good things. We're doing good things with coffee. We're doing good things with food, and we're doing good things for our employees, and we're doing good things for the community. And that's enough, and it is hard. I'm not going to discount it. It's hard, but it's totally worth it. It's totally worth it.
It's amazing how high the highs can be and how low the lows can be and how quick they can happen. And
Yeah.
they can occur all in one same
Yes.
morning even. What
Yes.
advice do you have to maybe a business owner earlier in their journey just for navigating the emotional
Yeah.
component of the
Oh my
journey and the
gosh.
hard times?
I mean, you've got to find your people, the people that you don't work with that are walking a similar path, because it's so good to commiserate and it's so good to share information. It's the simplest thing of, we use a sauna. We don't use home base anymore. These are the reasons. It's a little bit of a growing pain in the beginning, but it's totally worth it after a month. But finding your people and industry specific, I think, is important because there's a lot more that you understand. It'd be really hard for me to really commiserate with someone. Like I love Sheridan, who owns Hip and Humble, but she's purely in retail, right?
Mm.
So she sells home goods and clothing, and mostly to women, maybe, but we can commiserate on a lot of levels, but it's more beneficial for me to be like, okay, you guys use the same dairy for your milk. And okay, are you noticing, like, I mean, the silliest little things, like, do they have to drip the milk all the way through the cafe into in the kitchen or the refrigerator? Like, is it just us? Or they,
Am
because
I crazy here?
it's a pain in the ass to clean it up, But I think you just have to find your people. And
So you would tell a new business owner, find your people
find your
on kind of the
people.
emotional camaraderie side,
Yes.
doesn't matter the industry, but also go find people in the industry that you can share notes with
Yes.
and
Yes.
sanity check the things that you need
Yeah.
to go sanity check.
Yeah, because I don't think, I mean, I can say because we're established, like, do I feel like I have competitors? Absolutely. There's some really good coffee in this city. Is there enough coffee to go around? There is. But I think we've hit the mark. I think we're pretty saturated. I mean, at this
We may
point,
have oversaturated for a period there.
I hope everybody makes it,
Didn't you mention something to me like on this one corridor there were like 5
Oh
coffee
yeah.
shops just in one strip?
No, it's from Third West to 13th East on 900 South. I think we're up to 13 places to get a cup of coffee. I mean, and that's everything, right? So it's Tinker's Cat Cafe, right? And
Cat
it's
Cafe, I love it.
the Cat Cafe.
Bottom line, I mean, pure full stop, like
Yeah.
the coffee business has changed a lot in 10 years. And props
Oh
to you
my
for
God.
navigating it in the way that you have across COVID, across the earthquake, across labor costs going up, across tariffs in this uncertain environment.
Yeah.
It's impressive what you built, Missy. What's
Mhm.
ahead for Public as you look forward into the future?
Right now we are on a steady path of not making any drastic changes. We might make some menu changes, no expansion, just with like hold steady for this year and see what the world delivers us. And I don't know, Chase. I really love it. I still love it.
I can tell. We can hear it in your voice and the passion. I mean, I think
Yep.
every business owner needs to be passionate about their space, but I think anyone in food and beverage and coffee in particular, you've got to just have that dogged
Yeah.
passion and someone like Joe, a good operator
So,
at your side to ensure that you're watching your margins and you're running a disciplined business. And it seems like you two have made a really good pair of the vision and the
yeah.
values that you bring to the table, the focus on community, and then the
Yeah.
business acumen and the kind of numbers side in Joe. It seems like that's the perfect dynamic.
It is. It's the best because like I said, he forces me to look deeply at the numbers and I kind of twitch. And then I say, I want to get these t-shirts or these hats or these mugs. And he's like, your budget is this. And I'm like, okay, so look at these. There's a black with a white and there's and he's like, I don't care. I don't care what color the chairs are. I don't care what kind of cups we're using to serve the cappuccinos. I don't care what the t-shirts look like. I don't care what the light bulbs look like. This is your budget. You pick it. So it's kind of like the nice blend of
Yin and
he's
yang.
like behind the curtain looking at the spreadsheets, and I get to be making things aesthetically pleasing to myself and people. you know?
I
Yeah.
love it. Well, Missy, across nearly 70 employees, 4 or 5 locations, 3 or 4 different industries or kind of verticals within an industry. It's remarkable what you've built. Any kind of final words of advice or wisdom or
No,
thoughts to
I'm
business
always
owners?
surprised when I'm always surprised to be invited to a conversation like this because I don't know. It's still like I know it's really big in the lens of people on the outside, but it still feels really small to me. Like what we've done is I guess it's big, but it still feels small. It still
Yeah.
feels intimate and small and wonderful. Really.
I love it. I love to hear that. I love to see the business ownership journey go in the way that it has, which is probably
Yeah.
so different today than you even envisioned 10
Oh
years
my
ago.
gosh.
And for you to
Yeah.
still have the fire, the passion, the care, the team, and so props to you. And
Thanks.
thanks for coming on, Missy. In closing, if
Yeah.
someone's never been to a public location,
Yeah.
where should they go? What should they get? How can they learn more about Public?
Oh gosh. I think everybody needs to go to Public Kitchen because people need to understand that yes, we are a coffee company, but we also have this fabulous food and this wonderful restaurant, and the new building is incredible. But the coffee is the same. It's the same cappuccino. It's the same latte. But start there and ask the servers about the coffee and talk to the baristas there about the coffee. And then when you need to like work remotely, go to West Temple, go to Avenues, check it out. And if you're up by the U, then that's an entirely different experience. It's like walking into a college, coffee house, which is little teeny tiny. But yeah, I would say start at Public Kitchen because you're going to get kind of the whole feel of who we are and what we built.
Love it.
Thanks.
Missy Greis, thanks for coming on the
Thanks,
show today.
Chase.
Thanks for sharing your story and for everything that you've built here in Salt Lake City. It's inspiring.
Thanks, Chase.